So, Mike, here we are. We're a couple of weeks away from Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. on May 2nd. Tell me about this. We had 5 or 6 years where people were wondering if this fight would ever happen.
Right.
When did you realize that this fight was going to happen?
Oh, personally?
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
The day that Manny, after that fight in Macau, the day that he actually said it.
Yes.
I felt, well, I had a feeling that it was going to happen because it was the first time that Manny actually said it himself.
Yeah.
He kept on deferring that to Bob over the past 5 years. That my manager handled it. But it was the first time he actually came out and called Floyd by name.
Yes.
And said that I want this fight. So I guess that was the trigger that at least one of them truly wanted it.
Do you feel that it was a case where neither guy had anywhere else to go because they essentially cleared out the divisions, or was it just a thing where right place, right time, let's make the fight?
Well, it's both, really. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that it's going to happen now, because if it's going to happen like next year or the year after that, to me that's not a good fight.
Yeah.
But it came at the right time, I think, and all things are really planned out the way it should be. Sure, we can always say that both fighters don't have anybody to fight now except themselves, no? Except each other, but it's the right time. Mayweather is ripe for it at this time. He has to prove something, I think, still. Manny Pacquiao certainly is on the uptrend. He has to show the world that he is still the Manny Pacquiao that we all know.
So, of course, now, when Mayweather came out of retirement in 2009, and Manny Pacquiao had already ascended to that level of superstar status the year before when he had beaten Oscar De La Hoya, people started clamoring for that fight, but it took a while for it to happen. Do you think that there's any difference between if the fight happened back then in 2009, 2010, and if it happened, say, today?
Well, that's a good question. The situation of each of the fighters were different. Right now, as you said a while ago, it's about time because they had to prove something today. At that time, neither needed each other. So I think the desire wasn't there. If that happened then, it would have been an interesting fight, but not as exciting as it is today. I guess that's the major difference between that situation then and today. In fact, Mayweather, if you recall, always had that situation at every fight. He would mention someone, but sometimes he doesn't get that fighter.
Yes.
And because he makes the decisions for himself, right? And that's because he has something in mind for himself. On the other hand, Pacquiao and Arum were planning things for themselves also. You could actually see in the careers of both fighters, they wanted to make sure that they were, well, let's put it this way, it's a fight game.
Yes.
It's a money game,
yes.
right? So you always have to have the advantage going into a fight. So they planned it that way. But right now, as I said, this is right time, the right place. In fact, even the money is following the decision. I think this is the highest that it can go.
Yes. So you have, on one hand, you have a 38-year-old Mayweather who hasn't taken as much punishment as, say, the 36-year-old Manny Pacquiao, who is 3 fights away from a knockout loss, and he's had a lot of wars.
Right.
Chronologically, one guy is older. Maybe in the ring age, another guy is older. Who do you think has lost more or has deteriorated more in the last few years?
I think Mayweather.
Okay.
I think Mayweather has not been challenged enough. And that, to me, is a disadvantage for him. He's good, obviously. He's fast. In fact, if you recall, even before Pacquiao, he was described as fast.
Yes.
So that's the same description as Manny gets today, the adjective that they use, fast, speed, no? But he has not been challenged as much as Manny. So I think at this point, that is the disadvantage. Assuming there's a chronological age advantage or disadvantage, depending on who you're looking at, and also in terms of experience. But I think the fact that Manny has been challenged to, at that point against Marquez, that's a real challenge for him.
Yes.
Not the knockdown itself, but the coming back.
Yes.
That's the challenge, I think, that Manny has overcome. And I think that's the advantage he brings. He has come back in that, and mentally, I think he's ready. On the other hand, Mayweather, there's always that question in his mind, I think, even fight fans. Can anyone beat Mayweather? And I think an undefeated fighter will always have that. Can anyone beat me? So I think he's coming to that ring with that disadvantage.
That leads me into the next question about intangibles. Tell me about the internal makeup of both fighters. Who do you think has an advantage come May 2nd?
Skill-wise, I think Mayweather has it. No? He is very athletic.
Yes.
He's a natural. When I say natural, I don't think you even have to teach him.
Yeah.
When he started off very young, 9 years old, in the gym and all that. No? And we know that a lot of people have said, if you want to learn boxing, you watch Floyd, right? Manny has learned it himself. I think all the things that he's been doing is like, as we call it in piano, widow, or a Michael Jordan, you know, left to right, moving the ball from left to right when you need to, you know. But very basic boxing really goes to Floyd Mayweather, and I think that's the advantage that this guy brings. When you are in trouble, you go back to your fundamentals, and when you are in trouble, you know that your default will always be your basics. No? That's the problem with Manny. He does not have that grounding of basics. I think he has the courage, he has the hand speed, he has the experience, but when in doubt and when in trouble, I don't think he has any grounding that he can go back to as compared to Mayweather.
Say we're in the 9th round. After the 9th round, the fight's pretty much tied on the cards. Who do you think has the advantage going forward, 10, 11, 12?
10, 11, 12. I think Mayweather. If in the cards is the same, that would have meant that Mayweather has controlled the fight. Because I would think that the way Manny would have to win this fight, going into those championship rounds, is he has to be overwhelmed. He should overwhelm Mayweather. And I say that because that's the only way I think he's going to win this fight. He has to fight like Manny Pacquiao 5 years ago. As you said, that's why it became an interesting fight then, because the styles were very different. So he has to be that same person. So at the night, given that situation, at the 10th round, he has to move forward and grab the crown or the title or the win from Mayweather, because he has to work from that time on. If at the 9th round the score is tied, or the judges look at it at the same, that means Mayweather has controlled the fight.
Tell me about Mayweather's, as obviously we discussed that he has a skill advantage.
Right.
What is the fight that you feel he has to fight to win?
I'm sorry?
What is the fight that Mayweather has to fight to beat Manny Pacquiao?
The same. I think he has to be patient. He cannot get lured into the fight of Pacquiao. He has to stand his ground, be the defensive fighter that he is, but he has to know what Manny is going to do before Manny is doing it. So he should be doing that now. If Manny is going to throw a left-hand lead and turn to his right, he should know what to do. He cannot be surprised with how Manny is going to fight. And I think there are only a couple of moves that Manny can really practice. And we know, looking at Manny and how Freddie has honed him into this type of fight, you kind of know what punches he's going to throw. And I think that's what he has to prepare for. But in terms of preparation, patience, and the ability to really diffuse the attack and then counter. Now, there will be points that Manny will probably stop. And that's the time that he has to poke him around, throw a punch, a right-hand lead, get him and lure him into engaging with him. Engaging as defined by Mayweather, not engaging as defined by Manny.
Tell me about now Manny Pacquiao. People assume that he's going to be the bigger puncher of the two. He's wearing the puncher's gloves, right, even, and he has had the more spectacular knockouts in his career. But he hasn't stopped anyone in about 6 years. Tell me about the power. Who has the advantage, and do you feel that Mayweather's power is being underrated by some?
Given my experience in all this and watching all the fights of Manny over the past couple of years, and how Mayweather has also developed into a full boxer, and also with the punch power, you have to define the punch power, as you asked. Power comes from Manny because of his speed, so there is strength in it, right? The power of Mayweather in this fight will come because he's heavier.
Yes.
In Tagalog, mas mabigat. So there is a difference between that kind of punch. True enough, Manny has proven that he has one-punch knockout ability. Mayweather has that, but in the past, you could see that he would first wear down his opponent before that punch actually comes. Okay. So the question is, who has the advantage? If Manny throws a punch at the right time, which is really the big if, at the right time, right place, at the time that Mayweather is not ready, the way Mayweather threw the punch at Ortiz, something like that, then Mayweather will have a problem with that one punch. But if Mayweather can throw that one punch at the right time, I don't think Manny will fall. He will be hurt, but he will not fall because it's only heavy, it's not powerful. But Manny's punch is powerful. So both of them need to throw it at the right time, but they should not depend on that punch.
And also, I want to ask you, because we go back to the days when you owned the Punch-Out gym here. I know you're always a big proponent of body punching. Who wins the body punching war between the two?
Right. I would think that Mayweather will have the advantage because of his reach advantage. It's lower, the target's lower. He has to reach in. Manny has to come in, get under the jab of Mayweather, that left hook, that right before he gets to the body of Mayweather. I think he will have a very difficult time trying to get to the body. But Mayweather will have the advantage because he can throw that from a left dig angle, or maybe the right straight, and then moving down to the body. But I don't think Mayweather's going to go for the body. I think he's going to go for the head and just clip Manny with a couple of punches, move back, be defensive, bring Manny inside, clip him with a counter, and that's, I think, the way he would want to win this fight. As always, Mayweather will try to win this at 12.
So let's ask the $1 million question now. Of course, May 2nd, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. Who wins and how?
Okay. The big if is this: Manny has to do the job.
Yes.
Right. It's not Mayweather's to take. It's Manny's to take. Manny has to come in the way he should come in, aggressive, throwing all those punches that he needs to throw. He throws an average of about 60 a round on the average over the past couple of fights. And he hits, he connects at about 20%. So that means he just hits the same as Mayweather. Because Mayweather throws 40, but Mayweather hits at a higher percentage. So they actually hit their opponents on the average at the same level. So Manny has to work harder than Mayweather to get this fight. He will be lucky in the sense that he's done enough if he gets a split decision. But I think if he does more than that, he goes to 12 and gets a unanimous decision by pummeling Mayweather, if he does the job. So, if he does not, Mayweather will take this.
We've seen Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. have had common opponents. And in recent years, that's all we've had to really judge them by. Tell me about, let's run through a list of them, some of the guys that they fought together. Of course, both of them rose to superstar status by beating Oscar De La Hoya. We saw Manny Pacquiao won by an 8th round knockout, and then Floyd Mayweather won a split decision. Tell me, analyze both of their performances. Who do you feel did better?
Against De La Hoya?
Yes.
Okay. Well, obviously, Manny just showed the world how to beat De La Hoya with relative speed. No?
Yes.
Mayweather used speed but did not demolish De La Hoya.
Yeah.
I think that's you give that to Pacquiao. No? He really just showed everybody that the golden boy wasn't as golden as as we'd like to think. No? But Mayweather also finished him off, not surprisingly. In fact, I think I called that locally. That fight locally, and I did believe that Mayweather at that time, although he was the underdog, I think coming into that fight, did very well against De La Hoya. But it was more impressive, the Pacquiao win against De La Hoya.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of De La Hoya's fights, he'll actually be the betting favorite because he has the bigger name.
Right.
And then a lot of guys became stars by beating him, and they were technically upsets. Now, of course, we have Ricky Hatton then afterwards. Manny Pacquiao knocked him out in 2 rounds, and Floyd Mayweather knocked out Hatton in 10 rounds. They were at different stages. Hatton was undefeated when he fought Mayweather, and then he had a new trainer when he was fighting against Manny Pacquiao. Tell me about that. Who had the advantage?
Again, more impressive fight belongs to Manny Pacquiao because of that one punch, on I think the 2nd or the 3rd round, that left overhand, whatchamacallit kind of punch. But again, Mayweather showed how good he was as a boxer. Arguably, Ricky Hatton is really easy to beat if you are a thinking fighter. And I think both prepared for it. They thought about how to fight this guy, and that's how it happened. And I think Hatton against Pacquiao, did not prepare for that.
Yes.
He prepared for the fight, but did not implement the so-called strategy that they actually prepared. So that was a wrong move by Hatton there, coming to that left straight of Manny Pacquiao. Again, more impressive was Manny, but I think Mayweather showed the world again against a raging fighter, moving forward and very aggressive one, a brawler, as we would describe a Ricky Hatton. That's the way to fight a brawler, and he knocked him down the same fashion. So it really doesn't matter what round. They did very well against Ricky Hatton.
And now we have Juan Manuel Marquez. Pacquiao fought him 4 times. Once in 2004, 2007, 2011, and 2012. And he had a draw, 2 decision wins, and a knockout loss. Whereas in 2009, Floyd Mayweather Jr., he picked Juan Manuel Marquez as his first return opponent and won an easy decision. Tell me about that. Analyze the differences.
Well, to me, that's where you now see a Mayweather as a complete fighter. He did not have to engage Marquez, which Manny has always opted to. He always wanted to engage with Marquez, and that's I think like the difference, where the difference lies. No? It's difficult to say who's better, but that's the opponent that even Mayweather is using against Pacquiao. You know, I disposed of him easily. In fact, I don't think Marquez even won a round. I think only one judge gave him one round, but all the others it was like shutout, 120 something or something like that, right? But he fought intelligently. The counterpuncher against the best counterpuncher. All he did was really counterpunch against Marquez, and did not allow the Marquez that we know, who relentlessly would punch against Pacquiao, to even punch one-to combination. So he was in control of the fight, and I think that is perfect ring generalship that Mayweather showed. However, Manny fought a different fight, and that's the fight that makes this fight against Mayweather interesting also, because he will keep on attacking, and that's why Manny is an interesting fighter.
So now, of course, we go over to Miguel Cotto.
Right.
Pacquiao, that was the last time Pacquiao had stopped an opponent in 2009. And then there was a 12th round stoppage, and he knocked him down twice. And then Mayweather fought him a couple years later at 154 pounds, actually, and won a pretty competitive decision. Analyze those now.
Well, you know, Cotto is just like Hatton, perfect for both. He's slower, much slower than both. And he was a one-dimensional kind of fight. He was a slugger. He had that left hook to kill you. But that's the only thing that you have to prepare for. And both fighters just did what they needed to do. And they just waited for the right time to, to floor Cotto. I think I'd rather talk about Cotto. He should have adjusted to both fighters, because he knew what these guys are going to do with him. Box, move, go, find the angles. They won't stay in front of him, and that's what both of these fighters did. I think that was Cotto's fight to lose, both of them.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's Hatton, Cotto, Shane Mosley. Yes, of course. So there was the Shane Mosley fight. That was the Manny Pacquiao's only time, I believe, fighting on Showtime.
Right.
And that was in, I think, 2011.
Thereabouts.
And of course we saw Floyd Mayweather, the fight before that, had fought against Shane Mosley. Mosley had Mayweather hurt a bit there, and I think the second round.
Early in the fight.
Yeah, early in the fight, before Mayweather came on strongly. And then we saw Manny Pacquiao when he fought against him. Manny dropped him with a straight left hand, but it was a decision. Tell me about that. Who had the advantage there?
Well, I think this is the fight wherein we discussed it a while ago, who has the power punch, right? Manny Pacquiao clearly shows everybody that one punch can floor you, not down you, but floor you, and then you'd get up, flash knockdowns. He has the power to do that. What Mayweather showed in this fight is intelligence and patience. I think he was surprised by that one shot that actually wobbled his knees. He held on quickly. And that's what Mayweather is, the intelligent fighter. He does not care what you think, or what I think, or what the crowd thinks about him. He just wants to be there and win. Now, at that time, he got hurt. He holds on for about, a good 30 seconds. And people were booing him, egging him to engage. But he won't. And that's exactly the type of fighter that Mayweather brings into this fight. He has the skill, he has the intelligence, he has the experience, he has the power if he wants to use it. And that's what he showed against Mosley. Well, Mosley to Pacquiao was just like, a Hatton, moving forward, just looking for those shots. And I think he was much slower than we would expect a Shane Mosley to be.
Actually, if you recall, early in the fight, Mayweather had Mosley hurt, but then later in the fight, Nassim Richardson was even telling Shane Mosley he was going to stop the fight because he was taking too much punishment from Mayweather. So therein shows that Mayweather has some ability to pour on punishment through attrition.
That's right. You know what? Also, even Mosley did say that Mayweather had a heavier punch in one of the after-fight interviews, and I think he was asked who's going to win, and he did pick Mayweather against Pacquiao.
Now there was also in the fight with Mosley, Mayweather showed that he was also not just a finesse boxer, but he was physically strong.
Right.
Because Mosley has always been respected and revered for his physical strength.
Right.
On the inside, very few people could outmuscle him. He even outmuscled Antonio Margarito, who is considered to be a very strong fighter. So Mayweather showed that he also himself is a physically strong.
That's right. The problem though with Mosley, as you said, he's an in-fighter, he has very short arms if you really think about it.
Yeah.
So the physical disadvantage of Mosley forces him to stay inside. But Pacquiao and Mayweather opted to fight outside. Yeah. And that's the way to fight the Mosley. And they did the right thing against Mosley so that they don't get hurt. And that's exactly what they did, the right thing. As I said, Mosley, you can group Mosley, Hatton, and Cotto in the same group if you look at the two fighters and how they fought them. But it's Marquez that actually changes it a little bit. How these two fighters came into the ring to fight a Juan Manuel Marquez.
Great, great. I want to talk a little bit about a little bit of ancient history with Floyd Mayweather Jr. When people discuss the competitive fights that Floyd Mayweather has had, the list is very short. Right. But a lot of people feel that he lost the first fight with Jose Luis Castillo. HBO unofficial judge Harold Letterman had it 115-111. The CompuBox punch stat numbers showed Castillo had a large advantage in power punches. Tell me about that first fight. What did you think happened there?
Well, you know, the boxer will always have an advantage over a period of 12 rounds.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will look at him and say he controlled the fight. But in that fight, Castillo, I think, was very aggressive. He surprised everybody. That's Luis Castillo. I mean, you don't give anything, take anything away from this guy. I think he attacked very well. He countered against a counter. He was able to defend very well against Mayweather, putting a question on the connections of Mayweather. And that's why a lot of people thought that he lost that fight. Also remember, going into that fight, a lot of people are looking at already that undefeated streak of an Olympic champion that they think would be one of the greatest fighters in the world. So a lot of people actually just watch Mayweather to wait for him to lose. That's how people look at a Mayweather fight. And a lot of people will always say that when he is in trouble, they will always look at the fact that maybe he lost that fight. And that's how you look at it. And just how it is. And I think Castillo got to that point. No? But you move to the next fight, then Mayweather just showed everybody, no, I wasn't just ready for that fight. Now I'm ready. So he just, you know, the Castillo for the second one, it was all Mayweather.
Yeah, he was landing straight right hands on will, really. But talk a little bit about that first fight also, because later in the fight, a lot of people are giving rounds to Castillo based on the terrain. You know, we talk about ring generalship, but because they were fighting close. But it looked as if Mayweather was initiating a lot of that himself. And do you think that maybe Mayweather didn't get enough credit for some of the stuff he was doing in close?
That's what I'm saying. Once you watch Mayweather, already at that point in his career where people are looking at him as maybe one of the best, a lot of people will just look at mistakes that he's making. But certainly he was doing what he used to do. But Castillo was doing more than all the others before him.
Yes.
So, you know, you have to also understand you're creating impressions to the judge. This is not like he sees the CompuBox numbers, right? We know that. And everybody submits their scores per round. You know, so what you see per round is what you submit. And I guess that's how they looked at it. However, I do respect, he's from HBO, right? Harold.
Harold Letterman, yes.
Yeah, he's the unofficial HBO, we call this, judge, right? Yeah. And I do respect what he saw. But you have to understand also that he saw it from one part of the ring, and you see all the other judges seated around the ring. So that's only 1/4 of really what you can see. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying Mayweather, the other judges were right. I'm just saying a lot of people see it differently. And in a close fight, chances are the impressions that you will get is that you're looking at Mayweather may lose. And I think that's what happened in that fight. However, it was a very, very close fight.
Yeah, of course. You know, this was also at a time when Mayweather was having some hand issues with, and he had switched gloves back and forth until he found when Grant really said, "Oh, we're going to try and corner the market on the orthopedic brand," and they switched from. They have, of course, their horsehair variety also, but they have their foam only. And Mayweather's been using that for the better part of the last 8 years or so. But early in the fight, Mayweather showed he complained about a shoulder injury.
Right.
And
rotator cuff.
Yeah, rotator cuff. But he still fought through that fight all the way to the 12th round. Right. Do you feel that that showed maybe a little bit of the maybe unheralded heart that Floyd Mayweather has?
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he has I think he's a courageous fighter to be able
But he doesn't get really the credit as being it because he hasn't had those big, tough fights.
Right. Because he makes it easy.
Yeah.
He makes his fights look easy. So all these people who he's fought, they're tough. Diego Corrales is one. Even De La Hoya, Castillo is one. They're all tough. But he makes it look easy. So a lot of people look at him and say, you know, you got it easy, guy. You're not that. You don't have the heart. That's what they say. But that fight actually showed you what kind of person or fighter Mayweather is. With the rotator cuff injury, that hurts. I mean, you know, although it may not have been really bad, but obviously you won't be able to use that. You won't be able to throw the jab nor a hook. Right, I think he did fight southpaw, if I'm not mistaken.
He switched in the
he switched
round,
a couple of times to be able to throw that right hand against Castillo. Now, if that's the reason for the performance, then give that to him because he did show us on the second fight, 100% Mayweather, the way he would fight Jose Luis Castillo.
And lastly, I just want to ask you about Manny Pacquiao's heart because, you know, we talked about Mayweather's heart, and there's never been anyone who's doubted Manny Pacquiao's heart. Tell me about the way that he fights, and you know, you could really see the passion in him when he performs.
Right. Well, I've spoken to Manny. I can only speak of what I know.
Yes.
Right. I know Manny is very passionate about everything that he does. Sometimes he doesn't have to do some other stuff, but when he gets into it, he just keeps on doing it. And I think the passion for boxing is there. Obviously, that's the first thing that. How do I say it? That's the first thing he's learned. And it's the profession that feeds his family and brought him to where he is. I think this is the fight that he has to put everything into it. I think he knows it. The other fights, you and I have talked about this sometimes. You see his training, it's like 80% of the others, maybe some 50%.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
Compared to a lot of guys.
I know, but this fight, I think he knows exactly where his heart is. The focus is there. Everything is there. Jerry Peñalosa has said it's him or me. That's how he described his fight. In other words, referring to him as Manny Pacquiao, it's him or me. It's either I do this now or there won't be a next time. So I think that's the heart that Manny brings into this fight. He's going to put everything into this fight, and I don't think he wants to walk away with his head bowed down. Win or lose, you will see the best Manny Pacquiao in this fight.